Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to all joining us from different regions and countries. My name is Anastasia Buchok and I work on knowledge management in Green Growth Knowledge Partnership. It's a great pleasure to welcome all of you today to this roundtable event on national coordination mechanisms for robust NEP implementation, organized by Green Growth Knowledge Partnership, GGKP, under the GEF-funded and UNEP-led Global NEP Update project. So today's discussion brings together participants from across Europe, Africa, and Asia, while also welcoming countries and colleagues and partners from other regions who are joining us to exchange insights and the experiences. We are delighted to have today the interpretation available in French and Russian, so please feel free to select your preferred language channel at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So the purpose of this roundtable is to explore how countries can establish and strengthen their national coordination mechanisms that will support the full cycle of the NEP's national implementation plans, from the preparation and consultation to review, endorsement, reporting, and further on. And our aim is to identify the good practices and also challenges, the bottlenecks experienced by our colleagues across the world, and to learn from one another how this institutional coordination can make NEP implementation better, more effective, and sustainable. So we are honored to have with us our distinguished panel of the speakers representing the global and the national perspectives, driving this work forward. So let me just quickly introduce all of our panelists today. Ms. Mihaela Pon, Knowledge and Risk Unit from UNEP, Mr. Mamadou Lamine Diam, Ministry of Environment and Ecological Transitions of Senegal, Ms. Fatima Firouza, Ministry of Tourism and Environment, Maldives, Ms. Emilia Kupeva-Nedelkova, Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning, Republic of North Macedonia, and Mr. Ivan Jurikovic, Ministry of Environmental Protection, Serbia. And each of them bringing the amazing experiences and reflections on how these coordination mechanisms can enhance the NEP update and the implementation process within their national context. With that, it's my pleasure to invite our first speaker, Ms. Mihaela Pon from UNEP, to open this discussion and also introduce a few knowledge products that will be very helpful in this process. Mihaela, the floor is yours, and thank you.
Thank you, Anastasia, and good day, colleagues. It's nice to be here presenting. We had several webinars this year organized together with GGKP, but it's always nice to come back to this topic that is dear to my heart for many years. So let me try to share my screen now. Okay, so I put in slide mode. Can you see it?
Thank you.
Yeah, you can see it. Okay. Okay. So just as Anastasia mentioned, so I will love to hear from all the colleagues in different countries what their experience is from our end in the context of this GEF global project, GEF Finance NEP global project. We developed several guidance documents and model laws to support you in the process of review and updating of your national implementation plans. So you see here on my slides, related to the matter of the national coordination mechanism, which basically initially appeared in the context of the NEP development process, right? And then NEP review and now we see that is how should I say, naturally trying to connect with the reporting aspect as well. So in that context, we came up with 3 different pieces of knowledge, as you see on my slide. Basically, the information in the 3 documents is not different, is basically complementary. But why we did it in three versions is because, depending on the country context, you may want to, see it as a guidance. There were requests, for example, from different countries saying, we need kind of a model law regulation that we want to put in place in our country context, in the sense that they want to have like an internal ministerial order or things like that to be able to regulate this NIB review and update process, in the sense that, define who are the entities that need to follow up on that, and what are their particular responsibilities, what are the time frames, the steps that they need to take and all that. So therefore, that's why we have this model law. And then the procedure, some may say, oh, we don't want like a internal regulation or ministerial order, whatever, but we want to follow this as a basically as a procedure, so every colleague working on this will follow the procedure. So that's why you see the three different type of documents, but basically the information in it is quite similar but organized in different manners as per the different needs that you may have. So here is just to remind ourselves what is this step-by-step approach that we follow when we first develop our NIP, and then we are continue following basically during the NIP update processes, right? So, for example, if we focus on now on the NIP update, because we passed the first initial NIP development, the idea is, what is my first step in this, right? So what do I need to know? So first is to identify the need to review and update. And here, I don't know if you remember, there were like two different types of factors, internal and external. So for example, external is when, new chemicals are listed into the convention. Basically, you as parties are requested to update your NIPs in 2 years from the entering into force of the respective amendment. Of course, provided that you didn't opt out from one of these amendments. There is that option as well. Some countries opted out for some amendments. Or internal factors, in the sense that you have major internal changes that basically could trigger this update, in the sense that the NIM that you have in place, it cannot work well anymore because of all these internal changes. I don't know, completely different government structure, some entities that were responsible and have responsibilities in the NIP implementation are not yet there. I mean, are not there anymore. They were closed or merged or things like that. So first is to identify what is the subject of the update. So what triggers this update? And then, of course, is to initiate the review and update process. And third, which is the subject of today's discussion, is establishing this coordination mechanism, right? So I think, and probably we'll hear for sure we'll hear from the countries present today in our workshop, in our webinar, is that for most of them, this worked very well. So they established this when they did their first NIP, and they maintained this national coordination mechanism throughout the implementation phase. Then later on, during the update of the NIP, and some probably they involved this mechanism into the reporting aspects as well, and so on and so forth. Some others we have seen, for example, based on this good experience with this national coordination mechanism, they expanded the mechanism to cover, all the chemicals related matters in their countries, for example, right? So they say, yes, we started from POP's perspective, but now because there are so many other chemicals related agenda items, we want to expand the group and take opportunity of the presence of different stakeholders across the government, agencies, industry, NGOs, to whole agenda, chemicals and waste agenda, for example. And then yes, you have the mechanism in place and you move to the next step. So as per usual, you start to develop or update your POPs inventories, assess the national capacity and infrastructure, also assess what is the level of development of policies and instruments to implement the convention and so on and so forth. And then once you have all this baseline information, you come down to prioritizing and setting objectives into your new updated NEP. And then once you have a pretty good idea of what those are, you basically dive into formulating and I mean actually writing your NEP. This means so. And then you need to conduct the endorsement of the NEP, which usually we have seen that this goes by using the same national coordination mechanism that was put in place to kind of oversee and guide and advise on the update process. And then last step, of course, to transmit the NEP to the conference of parties. And so this step by step is basically for the review and update stage. Of course, if we look beyond, then it comes the implementation stage. Then you have reporting obligation that you may need to address as well, and those could fall, under the agenda of the same coordination mechanism. So here, what you will see on the how should I say? It's like we created this workflow. I don't know where to put this bar. So we created this workflow basically that you see here. So you see that, usually in your country, there is one national leading agency that basically is assigned to conduct the NEP review and updates, or as well to report. And then whatever I explained already, what is the actual workflow. So the agency basically needs to determine what is the purpose of the update, and is triggered by external or internal factors, so the ones that I just mentioned. And then basically initiate the review and update process, create the mechanism. I mean, if you have the mechanism, then you adapt the structure and conduct that. If you don't, I mean, if you had it before, but then it basically disappear or not maintain, you need to establish it again and set up a coordination mechanism, and with project coordinator, you need national project coordinator, task teams that conduct the inventory work and so on and so forth. So you start with the desk review of your information and data and needs, and then this continues. So basically it goes into the next steps, right? So as I said, inventories, and then formulating the NEP. I'm prioritizing formulating the NEP and communicating it. So this is basically a workflow that you can use into your national context. So everyone knows, what is the actual process, what are the main steps, because we've seen a lot of high turnover of the how to say staff turnover, in the sense that they move to other jobs and things like that. New staff is coming, and sometimes they are puzzled. They have no idea what they need to do. And I think having such a workflow is really, really useful. Then if you look into the model law type of legislation, you can see more details how you can structure it internally. You can use it as you need to. You don't need, it's not a must to have an internal regulatory thing. It's up to you to decide that as focal points or as coordinators of this type of work in your countries. But I kindly invite you to go through the 3 documents and basically having in regard your needs, try to take out of those elements that are really necessary to you. So our role, it was just to bring all information together, so you have it all in one place, and provide it to you in flexible formats that could adapt to any country, national context, how should I say. So I think I will stop here, because I'm also eager to hear from the other panelists on their experience with this coordination mechanism. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Mihaela, for sharing an overview of the knowledge products that were published, and they are actually available on our project website, and we have just shared the links to all of these knowledge products in the chat, so please feel free to explore. But just maybe one quick question, Mihaela, that or more a clarification, because there is a guidance on how to set up this national coordination mechanisms that you mentioned, but also as you mentioned on your first slide, for flexibility and for different cases. There is also a document which is called a model law. So basically, if I understand correctly, that model law is something that countries can just copy and adapt to their national context, right? So if they explore and download this document, this is something that can be directly practical text.
Exactly, yes. We
Foundation.
try to put like a logical and practical text that they can use if they want to, how should I say, regulate this internally, right? I mean, not only use it as a guidance, but if they want to really have internal, clear, you call it ministerial order, whatever, internal regulation, you know, we already defined the sections, the articles, we indicated where those places where you can adapt to your national context, right? So, you know, where we are saying, yes, a coordination mechanism is established and is under the leadership of this entity or that entity and things like that. So the text, maybe I can just, let me share my screen so they get a better understanding. Let me find, I have many things open, so I'm trying to find the right document. So let me know if you see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so for example, you see there are different chapters and sections and articles already defined, for example. So I'm taking Article 1, the occurrence of any following factors classified as external shall determine the execution of an evaluation process for reviewing and updating, right? So then let me give another example. So we say the respective national agency department hereby call it national leading agency in charge of conducting the assessment is, right? And then they need to define. And then it comes like step by step, you know, what needs to be done by this leading agency, and, you know, you see, the national leading agency should convene or set up a national coordination mechanism composed of, so you have all the elements here, step by step, what you need to do. So either you use this as your example to put your internal ministerial order or whatever, or you just take it and transform it in your internal procedure. So as I said, it's not a must to really have something like legislative type of instrument in place. It's not the need, but if you want to have one, you can easily use this example because it's already predefined for all of you. So you don't need to think of the sequencing, you don't need to think of the nitty-gritty of the process. You just follow the thing. Of course, you can also adapt it to your national context. So I'm not saying that you need to take this word by word. So yeah, so that's the basic idea behind these documents. So it's easy to adapt to any context. You can add, delete, whatever. So feel free to use it in any way that you find it most useful for your country context.
Thank you so much, Mihaela, for sharing this, the information about the guidance and also these practical tools that can be used by the parties as they find it necessary, and they can adapt it, and as I understand, can use it in different, let's say, for different modalities as a model law, but also as you mentioned, it's not really necessary to mandate the national coordination mechanisms by the law, but it can be applied in different institutional contexts. Thank you so much, Mihaela. And with that, we are very happy to move to our speakers from the countries. And I'm very happy to introduce Mr. Ivan Jurikovic from the Ministry of Environmental Protection of Serbia. Ivan, over to you.
Thank you. First of all, on behalf of the Ministry of Environmental Protection of the Republic of Serbia, I would like to thank organizer for inviting me as panelist on this event, and also to welcome all my distinguished colleagues from Eastern European region, as well as other regions from our POPs family. It will be my pleasure to share with you our experience with the National Coordination Mechanism for the NEP update, but also for the implementation of BIRS-M conventions. I will try to share the screen. I hope you can see the first slide.
We can see the first slide. Great.
Perfect. Thank you. Regarding the national coordination mechanism, first mechanism was established during the NEP update process, and the main purpose of that coordination working group is just to strengthening implementation of the project activities, collection data, processing the data for updating of inventory of POPs chemicals, as well as the development of the preliminary inventory of new POPs. But after the process of NEP updating, we just reformulated a similar mechanism, and we established the national coordination body for implementation joint Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm, and Minamata conventions. And we just use positive experience from the NEP update process, but also with engagement of additional stakeholders in this mechanism. Currently, according to our institutional arrangement, we have the BIRS-M synergy within the Ministry of Environmental Protection, protection, and according to the last internal ministerial institutional setup change, we have a common sector for wastewater management and developing of the circular economy, and in the same sector our chemical department and waste management department. Within our chemicals department, there are DNA contact person for Rotterdam Convention, national focal point, and official contact point for the Stockholm Convention, as well as national focal point for Minamata, as well the former SICOM, now GFC focal point. And within the waste management department is the Basel Convention national focal point. We had also the action plan for strengthening synergy in implementation of these conventions, and main key goals of that action plan is establishment of the national coordination mechanism for joint implementation. We achieved that goal by a few measures, identification of relevant stakeholders, and formal establish of the coordination mechanism according to the rules of procedure of government. It is inter-ministerial body. And also by adoption of the program of work of that body. Second goal is also establishment of the efficient information collection and reporting systems in accordance with the requirements prescribed by the Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm, and Minamata conventions, and we identify relevant state authority institution and competent authority for collecting data and proceeding data. Also, they designed IT software, which is user friendly and harmonized with the electronic reporting system by IRS conventions, and also conducting the training of the final users of the system. They are all members of the coordination body. As I said, goal of this body is to strengthen coordination and cooperation between competent authority responsible for implementation of specific provisions of the BIRSM conventions, but also is adoption of the program of work for implementation of joint priority activities, such as the activities involved within the action plans in the NEP, also joint inspections plan, because according to our institutional setup for controls of POPs chemicals. There are some shared jurisdiction between environmental inspection and sanitary inspection. Also awareness raising plan, a legislative plan, including the plan of harmonization with EU legislation relevant for POPs and PCB. So all additional amendments on EU POPs regulation, including implementation of the PCB directive, and also data management and proceeding plan for NEP updating and reporting. So there is lots of tasks for the joint body, and there are 2 meetings per year, spring and autumn. And we have the joint work plan with specific activities for each ministry, each member of the body, and after every meeting there is some kind of obligation of reporting what is fulfill and what is postponed. So we, after that, if we have some kind of the prolongation of some activities, there on the next meeting we just updating the work plan. On this slide you can see the composition structure of the national coordination mechanism. There is the chairs. Chairs are members from the Ministry of Environmental Protection as a lead ministry. And we have some kind of practice rotation. Every meeting is rotation between the Basel, Rotterdam, Stockholm, and Minamata focal point. Also, we have a really huge involvement of other institutions. So there are a few members from the Ministry of Environmental Protection beside the focal point of these 4 conventions. There are also colleagues from the IPPC units, from the unit for air, water, and soil protection, from Department for International Cooperation, and from other ministry, it's from the Ministry of Agriculture, from the Plant Protection Administration units, then from the Custom Administration, from the Serbian Environmental Protection Agency as the key competent authority for collecting, proceeding, and reporting in environment, as well as for environmental monitoring. Ministry of Mining and Energy, and also Agency for Medicines and Medical Devices, and also our Department for Chemicals within our unit for the integrated register of chemicals. Beside this government institution, we also involve in this body representative of Serbian Chamber of Commerce, which is our links with industrial associations, NGOs related to environment and safety chemicals, and also academia or research sector with some research institution in the field of POPs, including the toxicology department from the Faculty of Pharmacy. Also on this slide, you can see the print screen of our developed IT system software intended for BioRSM focal points. There is the system which enable us to fast request the data in the process of inventorization for the custom administration, or requested to Serbian Environmental Protection Agency to data on monitoring of POPs in waters, for example. And this is a very useful electronic tool because it is really speed up, accelerating the process of collecting data from different institutions, and also it is really good practice because before IT systems we have the really slow process of collection data. It's take a few months. Now it is only 1 month, so we have electronic request with options for reminders our colleagues from custom administration, which is also member of the joint body, and there have no notification by email 7 days before deadlines for submission of data, and 3 days before a submission of data. Also, in this IT system is also able to attach all working document agenda for every next coordination body meeting, and also minutes from the previous meeting, and also is available if some members of joint body was not able to be present physically at meeting, just to vote electronic through these IT tools. This is a print screen for example, from import of the Excel data from the custom administration for import, for example, of some chemicals which potentially contain POPs, so which is relevant for assessment of quantities in the inventory process. So there is end of my presentation, and I just want to inform you that our plan is that next year that body get one additionally task just to involve in and GFC at this process together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for this amazing presentation and for sharing the experience of Serbia. And it was really amazing to hear about this information system that you developed to engage the members of the National Coordination Mechanism and to process all the workflow internally and collect the data and inform the members about the upcoming meetings and agenda. That's really great, and good luck with integrating the GFC agenda on the NCM in future. Thank you so much, and maybe Mihaela, if you would like to add anything.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan. I think it's very impressive what you managed to achieve. I think it's also impressive how the national coordination mechanism in Serbia naturally evolved with the global agenda as well, right? So all this connection and now linkages with the GFC, which I believe is a really nice example for others as well. I have one question. I saw that you have many entities hooked to the body that you were mentioning. My question is, how do you manage to maintain them engaged into the whole, discussion process, reporting, follow-ups? Because this is most of the time, very challenging to keep these members continuously engaged. So if you can share that with us, it will be great. Yes.
Thank you. Yes, great question. Actually, we use really a good example in the pilot coordination working group for the NEP update. So we know the colleagues from other institutions, and we know that they are friendly in cooperation with us. So actually, after the finishing NEP updating, we just repeating request for nomination, but also unofficial. We ask previous member just to introduce the decision makers that it will be great to keep the same person in coordination mechanism, and we are really lucky that we have over the 80% of the same people from the NEP update process now involved in the joint coordination mechanism.
Thank you very much, Ivan, for addressing the question, and it really makes sense. It's not only about the POPs management, but it's also about the human relationship management and preserving the institutional memory of the people that were involved throughout the different cycles, right, and stages. And with that, we are happy to introduce our next colleague, Ms. Fatima Farouza from the Ministry of Tourism and Environment of Maldives. Okay, I think the screen is on the way, and maybe Sumin, if you could share the screen for Ms. Fatima Farouza. And over to you, Fatima. Thank you.
Would you be able to put it on full screen mode? Okay. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum and a very good day to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to join this roundtable. My name is Fatma Payuza. I'm the project coordinator for the NEP-led project from the Maldives. So to begin with, I'll give a brief introduction to the country. And next slide, please. So the Maldives is a small island nation comprised of 1,990 coral islands in 26 atolls over an area of 750 kilometers on a north to south axis and 120 kilometers on an east to west axis. This is a very small island nation. The land area of the Maldives accounts for about 1% of the country's territory, so the remaining 99% is the ocean. And we are a low-lying land area and with an average height about sea level of 1.8 meters. So we are a small island developing state which faces sustainable development challenges due to land scarcity, vulnerability to climate change impacts, and other natural disasters, as well as economic development problems due to high transportation costs between islands, lack of adequate infrastructure, and lack of industrial development incentives. The current population of the country is dispersed across, I made a mistake on the presentation, it's 187 inhabited islands and with an additional 166 tourist islands. So in the top corner of the presentation, the map shows the Greater Malay area, that is the capital city and the main airport and the newly developed city area. So here we have 1/3 of the population residing. So the next slide will explain that the inadequate storage options for the waste is a huge problem for the country. Estimated waste generation is 324,000 tons annually with 0.5 to 11% of hazardous chemicals, depending on the location and size of island. Here, for example, in the Greater Malay area where most of the population resides, our waste generation amount is higher compared to small island with a smaller population, maybe further from Marisol. So inadequate storage options and current disposal practices of hazardous chemicals and waste may lead to toxic chemicals and waste to end up in the groundwater of the islands and the oceans. Then jumping straight into the NCM of the project, the main responsibilities of the National Coordination Mechanism is to evaluate and assess the progress of the project and provide advice, policy, and institutional guidance to the project. In this regard, relevant governmental institutions will be requested to allocate necessary human and technical resources to support project implementation through the NCM of Maldives. The next point is to provide overall guidance and strategic direction to the project, ensuring it remains within any specified constraints of time, scope, and budget. And the next responsibility is to assess and decide to proceed on project changes through appropriate revisions, and to share information on chemicals related activities of respective member organizations, and ensure coordination and harmonized data sharing for effective implementation. So in order to establish the National Coordination Mechanism, a stakeholder list was created with reference to current steering committees created for similar chemical related projects in the ministry. So one of the projects is the POPS project. It's the short for Eliminating Persistent Organic Pollutants Through Sound Management of Chemicals. This is a UNEP project which has been going on for the past 5 years. And then the next one is the SP project. It's the institutional strengthening and capacity building for sound management of chemicals and waste in the Maldives. This project has been in force since 2023. Then the next project is the Islands project, implementation of sustainable law and non-chemical development in SEEDS. And the final list of stakeholders to be included in the national coordination mechanism was confirmed based on the initial NIP of Maldives compiled in 2017. And here I will explain how there are institutional overlaps in the country. For example, taking the chemical group for pesticides, we have the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Defense, and the Maldives Customs Services involved in the pesticide category. They are responsible to implement law and regulation, issuing permits, licenses, standards, and authorizing any chemicals that do not fall under Annex 6 of hazardous chemicals regulations, and import and export of permit for any goods imported or exported from Maldives. Next slide, please. And this table also shows other institutions involved. For example, the Ministry of Environment, Environmental Protection Agency, Ministry of Tourism, and Maldives Customs Services. Overall, their coordination helps to enact the regulation of waste management and the import and export permits given for any goods imported into the country. Next slide, please. So the finalization of the national coordination mechanism was through invitation letters which were sent to institutions requesting for a nominee and an alternative member from each institution for the NCM. And the first national coordination mechanism meeting was held on 30th May 2024. And the final terms of reference was drafted and approved by BCRC China. This completed the deliverable one of the project. Next slide, please. So here we have all the 14 institutions and agencies involved in the National Coordination Mechanism of Maldives. The first one is the Environmental Regulatory Agency, which was previously the Environmental Protection Agency, Maldives Civil Aviation Authority, Maldives Customs Services, Maldives National Defense Force, alongside the Fire and Rescue Services, Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Welfare, Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works, Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation, and number 10, 11, 12 is under the Ministry of Tourism and Environment, but these are three different departments. One is the Tourism Department, the other is the Environmental Management and Conservation Department, under which there's the Chemical Unit, and through that, the NIP update project is being implemented. And then there's the Waste Management and Pollution Control Department. And then we have the Maldives National University, and lastly, the Waste Management Corporation Limited of the country. So how the NCM supported the NIP review? We are currently very early into the stages of the project. So it is very early for me to explain how the NIP review was supported by the NCM, but in the coming months, we will be having the second NCM meeting, and also they will be assisting in the validation workshop for the inventory report. The purpose of the first NCM meeting was to endorse the budget and share the responsibilities of the NCM members for the timely deliverance of the project deliverables and overall success of the project. The NCM consists of an executive and 14 members nominated by the respective institutions. The executive is an individual who represents stewardship of the project and will chair the project NCM. He or she will ensure that the project is focused throughout its life cycle on achieving the objectives and delivering outputs that will contribute to higher level outcomes. The executive has to ensure that the project gives value for money, ensuring cost-conscious approach to the project, balancing the demands of beneficiary supply. Specific responsibilities of the executive include ensure that there is a coherent project organization structure and logical set of plans, monitor and chair the project national coordination mechanism meetings. So to give an update of the project deliverables, currently we have the draft inventory report submitted to the PMU by the NIP expert team for review and comments. The number one report is the source group for PCDD, and PCDF and other UPOPs. The second report is preliminary inventory of SCCPs and NCCPs in Maldives. So as I mentioned before, we have the second NCM meeting planned for next month. Currently, we have the project extension process also ongoing. And upon completion of POPs inventory reports and POPs country profile, we plan to hold an validation workshop. The mandate of the NCM is based on the POPs profile, which will be developed, and NCM will develop criteria for prioritizing the mitigation and the feasible, the elimination of the health and environmental impacts of POPs. And based on these criteria, priority issues to address the management of new POPs and set of objectives to guide preliminary country-specific activities relevant to new POPs will be developed. The NCM will hold project reviews to assess the performance of the project and appraise the annual work plan for the following year. In the project's final year, the National Coordination Mechanism is required to hold an end-of-project review to capture lessons learned and discuss opportunities for scaling up and to highlight project results and lessons learned with relevant audiences. The final review meeting is expected to discuss the findings outlined in the project terminal evaluation report and the management response. Looking into the lessons learned and recommendations which we could suggest from the Maldives. During the first meeting, it was suggested by the members to provide a tentative time frame with 2 weeks notice before planning NCM meetings, and to provide scheduled meeting reminders to the members, and to share updated work plan and deliverables beforehand of meetings. And since we are a small island state, we have sometimes some of the members traveling. So to combine physical and virtual meetings to maximize attendance. And this incorporation of online participation is needed to cater for the members' agenda since there's a lack of human capital in the field. And additionally, due to the geographical dispersed nature of the country, stakeholders within the country might find it more feasible to join online meetings. So there is a need to work with local government authorities, which will help to speed up the review and update of the project. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email the ministry, and my email address is also there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fatma. It was really comprehensive overview of the national coordination mechanism establishment and the mandate and the work that is ongoing in Maldives. We understand that with that amazing work that has been done already, you still have a way forward
Yes.
to kind of deploy it in the next steps of the NEP process and so on. But that's really amazing. And we have one question on the chat, maybe just very quickly, because a few other members are waiting for their presentations. So a question from the audience to Maldives is whether you involve other stakeholders outside the government, like NGOs or the private industry. So on the slides, I've seen you mention the National University of Maldives and One Waste Management Corporation, but maybe if you have anyone else on the NGOs or private sector.
This was one recommendation given by one NCM member during the initial meeting, but the executive, which is the ministry's state minister, highlighted that we could approach NGOs and organizations, associations through the Ministry of Cities, Local Government and Public Works. And they also wanted to keep the NCM members to the given number, otherwise it might be difficult to coordinate because already there is a lot of overlap in the mandates from each of the ministries. As I showed, that there's the agriculture of ministry and the environment, we have overlapping mandates. So I think if we can coordinate carefully with them, it will be easier. I hope I was able to answer.
Thank you very much, Fatma. And good luck to Maldives with the NCM and all the NEEP work forward. Thanks a
Thank you.
lot. I'm just looking at the chat and I see that one of our colleagues who was on the panel from Kenya just asked to quickly step in. Edward, I think we can allocate around 2 minutes. Would it be okay for you? Edward from Kenya, if you are still with us. Okay, I think Edward just left us. And with that, I'm very happy to hand over the floor to our next speaker, Miss Amelia Kupova-Nedelkova from the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning of the Republic of North Macedonia to share a bit of experience from North Macedonia. And over to you, Amelia.
Thank you. I will try, it will be more practical for me to share just try, give me a moment to share the presentation.
Okay, I think we can see your screen, Amelia.
Yes, just
Maybe if you could make it in your full screen
yes,
mode.
yes, yes. Hi everyone, and thank for the invitation to participate at this roundtable. For preparation of the presentation, I followed the recommendations and the rules that was given by the organizer. First, I will go a little bit with history, with the background, because there was a plenty of steering committees linked with the POPs management in the country. Our first NEP was created somewhere in 2004, 2005. So the first steering committee was established in 2002. Then we have, and this first gathered some institution that was directly involved in the POPs management. It was the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning as a leading institution working with the first NEP development, then the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Water Economy, Ministry of Health, Faculty of Agriculture, NGOs, and private sector. Then in 2009, the SAICOM Steering Committee, we had project for SAICOM implementation plan development, and within the activities of this project, SAICOM Steering Committee was established. The participating institutions was the Ministry of Environment. In this case, also the Ministry of Environment was the leading agency or the agency coordinating the project implementation. Ministry of Health, in that time, Bureau for Medicaments, responsible for the chemical law implementation. Ministry of Transport and Communication, Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Water Economy with its phytosanitary administration responsible for management of pesticides, and Ministry of Finance, Customs Administration responsible for border control of the chemicals import and export. Then in 2012, with first updating of the NEP was created second steering committee on POPs, and the leading agency, actually the agency establishing this committee was the Ministry of Environment through his POPs unit. I want to mention that in the first POPs project, or the first NEP development, was created a separate unit in the Ministry of Environment, which actually existing still within the auspices of the ministry, so-called POPs unit. Then the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport and Communication, Ministry of Agriculture, Phytosanitary Administration, Ministry of Finance, and Ministry of Economy. In 2011, was established the second committee for SAICM. The same institution participated in this committee, and also with this updating of the SAICM national plan, the second committee for SAICM implementation was established. As you can see at the slide, I don't want to have a too long presentation. Almost the same institution participated, including in this committee the industry, NGOs, and university. And the last committee that we consider as the most acceptable option is establishment of the National Committee for Chemicals and Waste Management. Throughout the implementation of the chemicals and waste, mostly chemicals project, we saw that the most acceptable option is to have a national general committee for chemical and waste management, having in mind that most of the chemicals treaty, like Stockholm Convention, Minamata Convention, they have their special provision dealing with the waste containing those chemicals. So for this purpose, we created the National Committee for Chemicals and Waste Management. In this committee, it was established by the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning, and the institution participating are the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Transport and Communication, Ministry of Agriculture, and Phytosanitary Administration, Ministry of Finance, and Customs Administration. What are the central coordination role of this national coordination management? Usually it is the kind of steering committees in our country, or the last steering committee for chemicals and waste. Its main role is to prevent isolated efforts by servicing as a coordinating hub that links all relevant government and not governmental institutions or organizations responsible for POPs measurement or involved in the POPs management procedures. In our country, the lead institutions, as I mentioned several times, is the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning through its POPs unit, which gives technical oversight, reporting, policy implementation, etc. And the institutions that are involved are the Ministry of Health, covering the health aspects and general chemicals management, including REACH and CLP regulations, by the implementation of the law on chemicals. So industrial and industrial POPs. Then they also the Ministry of Health within the chemical division are incorporating chemicals inspectorated, which is responsible for enforcement of the provisions of the chemical law. Then the Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Agriculture, which are covering some of the industrial, Ministry of Economy, working with some of the life cycle stages of the industrial chemicals, and pesticides covered by the Ministry of Agriculture and its Phytosanitary Administration, Customs Administration, responsible for border control, and State Environmental Inspectorate enforces and controls all the aspects linked with the chemicals impact to the environmental to environmental in general. What is the key for the national coordination mechanisms success? It actually ensures participatory review. The committee or the steering committee or the national coordination mechanism was during the POPs several stages or several activities for NEP updating of the NEP document, and was fundamental in making the NEP review transparent in a transparent multi-sectoral process, leading to a plan with greater national ownership and political endorsement. Also, it takes consideration the comprehensive updates by facilitating the integration of new national legal changes and international obligation newly, because we are when the newly listed POPs appears in the Stockholm Convention document, we are mobilizing ourselves to update our current existing NEP document by applying expertise or its diverse members. Also, it secures political support by formal approval by the National Steering Committee. The NEP updates that obtain stronger political weight than a plan developed solely by the ministry, for example, Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning and its POPs unit in our case. What are the challenges? This body could have infrequent meetings, and attendance and engagement of its members could prove inconsistent, weakening the mechanism authority to drive cross-sectoral commitments. It could have lack of enforcement power, despite its formal status, my lack of different power to enforce deadlines on other ministries, leading to implementation bottlenecks for key NEP activities, for instance, legislative adoptions, hazardous waste, infrastructure investments, etc. Also, resource allocation. While the steering committee endorses the NEP, it can fail to translate the required actions into dedicated, sustainable domestic budget lines for participating institutions, forcing continued reliance on external donor funding for core NEP activities. What are the lessons learned? The participation of the different institutions is vital. The successful compilation and endorsement of both the initial and updated NEPs confirmed that the multi-sectoral steering committee is essential for legitimacy, data gathering, and initial implementation support. Then the coordination mechanism effectiveness is directly proportional to the dedicated permanent capacity of its core unit. In our case, that is the POPs unit under the Ministry of Environment and Physical Planning. Its members rely on this core unit for data, agenda, and follow-up. And what are the recommendations? To try to formalize the steering committees in legislations, to formalize the role and composition of the national steering committees within the national legislation, for instance, in the law on environment, or the law on chemicals. It could be also the law on waste. This will mandate participation and commitment, ensuring consistent attendance regardless of all political cycles. Also, to establish clear accountability mechanism, implement a formal system where members of this committee must report back to committee on the status of NEP action items and resource allocation within their respective institution, with defined consequences for non-compliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emilia, for the opportunity, first for us to hear from the experience of North Macedonia. And running the national coordination mechanisms, but also the final, let's say, messages that you gave to other parties that, it probably also links to the question of Mihaela. She asked to Ivan in the very beginning that how to keep people engaged on this national coordination mechanism, how to keep it alive and active. And I guess that was one of the recommendations on your presentation, that it could be probably also helpful and considered to mandate the NCM in the law, like a law and environment, as you mentioned. But thank you very much. That's an amazing experience from North Macedonia, and we wish all the best to North Macedonia and all your further efforts. And thanks a lot for joining. And with that, I'm very happy to move to our next speaker from Senegal, Mr. Mamadou Lamine Diam from the Ministry of Environment and Ecological Transition in Senegal. Mamadou, over to you.
Merci, bonjour à tout le monde. Merci Anastasia, merci au GGKP, chers collègues. Donc, c'est avec plaisir que je vais partager peut-être l'expérience du Sénégal par rapport à la coordination de ce processus de révision du plan national de mise en œuvre de la Convention de Stockholm. Alors, je vais partager mon écran. Ouais. Vous voyez mon écran? Yes. OK, thank you. OK. Maintenant, par rapport au plan, donc, il va s'impliquer autour de ces 4 points. Donc, le processus de stabilisation du mécanisme de coordination et les agents et institutions qui sont impliqués dans ce processus. Et comment est-ce qu'on est arrivé à mettre en place ce mécanisme de coordination, les défis, les challenges, mais aussi en termes de leçons apprises et les recommandations qu'on pourrait formuler à l'endroit des autres parties. Alors, par rapport à ce premier point, il faut savoir déjà que le Sénégal a fait son premier NIP en 2004. Actuellement, on est à notre troisième plan national de mise en œuvre de la Convention de Stockholm. Le deuxième a été révisé en 2014 et le troisième qui a commencé en 2022 avec ce NIP-là qu'on est en train de réviser. Par rapport au mécanisme de coordination, déjà, comme vous le constatez, il y a 4 parties ou bien 4 composantes qui sont plus prioritaires. Il y a le centre régional de la Convention de Bâle de Stockholm qui assure un peu la coordination et joue l'interface entre le pays et le secrétariat de la Convention. Il y a le comité de pilotage, parce qu'au Sénégal, quand même, on a la chance d'avoir la gestion des déchets dangereux et la gestion des produits chimiques qui sont concentrés au sein d'un même ministère, qui est le ministère en charge de l'environnement et de la transition écologique. Et dans ce ministère-là, qui assure le secrétariat d'une commission nationale de mise en œuvre, d'une commission nationale de gestion des produits chimiques qui a été instaurée depuis 2002. Et cette commission-là assure et constitue le comité de pilotage de tous les projets qui ont trait avec la gestion des produits chimiques et des déchets dangereux. Et vous verrez que dans cette commission-là, il y a pratiquement tous les services qui sont impliqués dans la gestion de ces produits-là. Par exemple, vous avez le ministère de l'Environnement, vous avez le ministère de la Santé, vous avez le ministère du Commerce, le ministère en charge des Finances à travers la douane, agriculture, travail, etc. Et la photo que j'ai présentée ici, vous verrez qu'il y a la santé, il y a la protection civile qui assure un peu le contrôle des bâtiments, des substances, des produits qui sont utilisés au niveau des bâtiments. Il y a aussi les laboratoires, par exemple le CRS Sox. Il y a l'Institut sénégalais de normalisation qui met en place les différentes normes en matière de gestion de ces produits-là et de tous les articles, bien sûr. Donc ça, c'est les membres du comité de pilotage. Comme vous l'avez vu, hein, c'est un comité très, très, très élargi où toutes les parties prenantes ils sont représentées. J'ai oublié de mentionner aussi que dans ce comité-là, il y a les ONG, par exemple Panafrica, qui est membre de ce comité et qui joue l'interface un peu en matière de gestion des pesticides et des produits qui sont un peu utilisés au niveau des périmètres maraîchers. Après ce comité de pilotage, il y a le comité technique. Le comité technique qui est composé plus ou moins des services qui sont impliqués directement dans la gestion des produits chimiques. Il y a l'environnement, il y a le ministère de la Santé, il y a à travers le centre antipoison, parce qu'au Sénégal, on a un centre antipoison qui assure un peu la surveillance des empoisonnements ou bien des contaminations des personnes, en fait. Il y a la douane qui assure tout ce qui est importation, qui gère les importations des produits, des articles, et qui nous aide beaucoup dans la transmission des données relatives aux produits chimiques, aux articles, parce qu'aujourd'hui, l'enjeu, c'est les pauvres retardateurs de flamme qu'on trouve surtout dans les articles, que ce soit les véhicules, que ce soit les jouets, que ce soit les produits qui sont utilisés dans le secteur du BTP, etc. Donc, je pense que la douane nous aide beaucoup dans la transmission de ces données-là. Il y a l'agriculture aussi, à travers la direction de la protection des végétaux, qui gère un peu le contrôle des pesticides. Par exemple, le ministère de l'Agriculture nous a beaucoup aidé dans la transmission déjà de la liste des importateurs et des formulateurs de pesticides au niveau national, mais aussi la liste des grandes sociétés ou bien des grandes firmes agricoles qui utilisent ces pesticides-là au niveau des périmètres maraîchers. Et nous, on a fait des lettres d'introduction à l'endroit de ces producteurs maraîchers pour leur demander de nous envoyer, de nous communiquer les matières actives qui sont utilisées au niveau de ces champs-là. Et là, ça nous a beaucoup aidé dans l'identification déjà des pesticides POP qui sont en circulation, bien qui sont utilisés au Sénégal. Le commerce aussi, le ministère du Commerce, sur le commerce intérieur, qui assure le contrôle sur le marché qui assure le contrôle des produits qui sont mis sur le marché et qui nous a beaucoup aidé dans l'interprétation aussi des codes SH. Par exemple, nous, on a utilisé pour les importations les codes SH du système des Nations Unies, mais on s'est rendu compte dans le traitement de ces données que certains codes SH n'étaient pas trop conformes avec ce que les services du commerce utilisent. Et là, on a fait un travail de compilation, de confrontation, et le commerce nous a beaucoup aidé dans le suivi, bien dans l'identification de certains produits qui sont importés au niveau national. Il y a aussi le ministère en charge de l'industrie qui nous a beaucoup aidé aussi, surtout en matière de gestion des POPNI, avec les cimenteries, les centrales de production d'électricité, etc., qui sont pratiquement les principales sources de génération de ces POPNI. Donc ça, c'est le comité technique. Et le rôle du comité technique, c'est de jouer l'interface entre les experts et le comité de pilotage. Donc, nous verrons ça dans le diapositive suivant. Il y a aussi les experts. Donc, les experts, c'est bon, les 3 experts qui se sachent de faire les travaux d'inventaire. Maintenant, par rapport au processus de mise en place de cette commission-là, donc, il faut reconnaître qu'on a fait de lancement du projet en février 2023 et ces consultations ont permis d'identifier la Commission nationale de gestion des produits chimiques pour assurer un peu le rôle du comité de pilotage. Et après, on a formalisé cela à travers un arrêté ministériel qui statue, bien qui demande à ce que le comité de pilotage soit assuré par la Commission nationale de gestion des produits chimiques. Après ça, bon, on a tantôt, Mirelia a posé la question par rapport à la fidélisation des membres ou bien à l'assiduité de ces membres-là. Ce qu'on a fait, c'est qu'on a nommé des points focaux. On a désigné des points focaux pour chaque ministère, surtout pour le comité technique. On a demandé à ce que les ministères, que ce soit le ministère de l'Environnement, le ministère de la Santé, les douanes, l'agriculture, commerce, désignent des points focaux PNM. Donc, c'est eux qui sont les répondants directs du ministère de l'Environnement, de notre ministère, par rapport à ce processus de révision du NIP. Donc, tous les résultats ou bien les réunions se tiennent avec ces points focaux-là de manière périodique. Donc, ce qui nous a permis un peu de fidéliser les membres et de ne pas avoir une dispersion un peu partout, compte tenu, bien sûr, des changements qui interviennent dans l'administration avec le mouvement des agents, etc. Donc, ces points focaux aussi nous ont beaucoup aidés dans ce processus-là. Alors, par rapport au mécanisme maintenant, il faut savoir que déjà, c'est le ministère de l'Environnement qui coordonne le projet, notamment notre direction et le point focal de la Convention de Stockholm. Et vous verrez que ici, c'est un schéma très simplifié. Donc, les experts qui coordonnent directement avec le point focal, donc en l'occurrence, qui reçoit tous les documents, les projets qui donnent les orientations par rapport aux études. Et ces documents, une fois produits de manière provisoire, sont directement envoyés au comité technique pour une évaluation. Comme je l'ai dit tantôt, le comité technique, c'est les ministères qui sont directement impliqués dans la gestion de ces produits-là. Donc, une première évaluation est faite par ce comité technique-là pour déjà la validation des données, des inventaires ou bien donner des orientations. Si on a aujourd'hui, dans le cadre de ces inventaires, si les experts rencontrent des difficultés par rapport à l'accès des données, par rapport à l'accès au niveau de certains industriels-là, c'est ce comité qui évalue tout cela et donne des orientations. Maintenant, s'il s'agit de la validation des rapports, c'est ce comité technique aussi qui évalue le rapport, donne des orientations par rapport aux résultats, etc., au point focal, ou bien qui fera un rapport et transmettre ça aux experts. Mais si le rapport est validé, par exemple, les rapports d'inventaire sont validés techniquement, donc le rapport est directement transmis au comité de pilotage pour une validation à une échelle plus large. Ce qu'on évite, c'est que par rapport à cela, c'est que le rapport provisoire soit directement envoyé au comité de pilotage pour validation. Parce que l'expérience a montré que les gens de l'administration n'ont pas toujours le temps de lire correctement les rapports, de vérifier les données qui sont communiquées. Et le temps n'est pas souvent imparti, suffisamment de temps n'est pas donné au comité de pilotage parce que souvent c'est dans le cadre d'une réunion d'une demi-journée ou bien maximum de 2 jours. Et les gens n'ont pas souvent le temps de lire correctement les rapports et de s'approprier des résultats. C'est la raison pour laquelle, excusez-moi, on fait ce travail interne-là de validation technique avant d'envoyer, de vérification technique, bien sûr, avant d'envoyer le rapport au comité de pilotage pour une validation. Et si ce rapport est validé ou bien le document est validé, on envoie directement au ministère de l'Environnement pour faire la transmission au centre de Bâle, au centre régional des conventions de Bâle et de Stockholm pour une transmission au secrétariat. Donc, un peu ça, c'est le mécanisme de coordination qui est simplifié. Alors, le trait en rouge, c'est l'assistance technique aussi qu'on reçoit du centre de Bâle et qui est, je rappelle que tous les documents qui ont été produits, bien, qui ont été reçus dans le cadre du renforcement de capacité, notamment avec le GGKP et le centre de Bâle, ont été partagés avec les experts à travers le point focal. Donc, c'est un peu ça, le mécanisme simplifié le mécanisme simplifié de coordination dans le cadre de ce processus de révision du PNM. Et par rapport au succès et aux défis, il faut comprendre que le mécanisme de collecte a joué un rôle important dans le processus de collecte des données des inventaires. Par exemple, la facilitation, le premier succès, c'est la facilitation dans la collecte et la transmission des données sur les POPs. Par exemple, si on prend les pesticides, comme je l'ai dit tantôt, c'est le ministère, la DPV, la Direction de la protection des végétaux, qui nous a transmis la liste de tous les importateurs, les formulateurs, mais aussi la liste des sites qui utilisent ces pesticides dans le cadre de la production agricole. Ils ont aidé aussi dans le ciblage des zones à risque d'utilisation des pesticides. Vous savez que le Sénégal est un pays où on pratique l'agriculture. Pas trop l'agriculture intensive dans certaines parties, bien sûr, mais c'est la DPV qui nous a orientés vers ces secteurs-là, vers ces parties du territoire où on en fait peut-être, on est parti rencontrer les utilisateurs de ces pesticides-là pour voir un peu de manière visible les produits qui sont utilisés dans ces périmètres-là et peut-être faire une évaluation du risque, parce qu'il y a une partie qui concerne l'évaluation de l'impact socio-économique en rapport avec l'utilisation de ces pesticides-là. Là, le ciblage de ces zones-là nous a vraiment aidé. Par rapport au POPNI, comme je l'ai dit tantôt, c'est surtout avec le ministère de l'Industrie et du Commerce qui nous ont beaucoup aidé dans la transmission aussi. Par exemple, aujourd'hui, le Sénégal, c'est un pays qui exporte bien, qui recycle beaucoup de ferraille et on s'est rendu compte que ça aussi, c'est une niche de génération de ces POPNI-là. Le raffinage des produits hydrocarburés, etc., la production de ciment, de fer. Et toutes ces données-là ont été obtenues grâce à la collaboration qu'on a avec le ministère en charge donc, de l'industrie et du commerce. Pour les propres retardateurs de flamme aussi, c'est la même chose avec les importations de véhicules, les équipements électriques et électroniques, les articles, les moquettes, etc., qui sont importés. Si on utilise aujourd'hui la base de données de l'UNEP-led, on se rend compte que c'est très difficile de faire, de voir en termes de provenance ou bien en termes de qualité les produits qui sont directement importés. Mais si on se réfère à notre cotation, à notre système de cotation national avec les commerces, facilement on pourra disposer de ces données-là. Maintenant, par rapport aux défis, il faut reconnaître aussi que même si le mécanisme est huilé, mais quand même, on a certains défis par rapport au renforcement du mécanisme de coordination. Par exemple, le premier défi, c'est l'implication de nouveaux acteurs. On a vu que, par exemple, dans l'inventaire des PCB, on s'est rendu compte qu'il fallait impérativement impliquer dans le mécanisme de coordination, impliquer la société, la compagnie nationale d'électricité. Donc, parce que l'accès, souvent, les compagnies n'ont pas vocation à transmettre facilement les données liées aux transformateurs en service, liées aux équipements en stockage, etc. Ils sont un peu réticents par rapport à la transmission des données, de même que les industriels, pour souci de concurrence, etc., de transmission de ces données-là. Donc ça a été un défi et on a relevé ce défi-là grâce, bien sûr, à la collaboration et aussi à l'introduction des lettres à la préparation des lettres d'introduction à l'endroit des ministères, du ministre même en charge de ce secteur-là pour faciliter la transmission de ces données-là. La fidélisation des points focaux PNM au niveau des autres services, ça aussi, c'est un défi. Même si aujourd'hui, on a des points focaux qu'on a désignés, mais c'est des gens qui n'ont pas toujours le temps de lire les rapports, de faire une évaluation préliminaire. Donc, c'est la raison pour laquelle on tient des réunions périodiques pour voir un peu l'évolution voilà, des travaux, des inventaires sur le terrain, mais aussi des autres études en cours de réalisation. La lenteur dans la transmission des données et la validation des rapports. Vous verrez que certes, c'est un mécanisme de coordination qui me semble un peu lent parce que si aujourd'hui les experts produisent les rapports et qu'ils doivent avoir une première évaluation avec le comité technique, déjà réunir les gens, ce n'est pas toujours évident compte tenu de leur charge administrative. Et si ces documents-là sont validés par le comité technique, il y a un autre niveau de validation par le comité de pilotage. Vous verrez que ça prend un peu de temps, mais quand même, ça nous permettra d'avoir un bon document. Un document qui est lu, dont les données sont bien vérifiées, etc. Parce qu'on ne peut pas communiquer n'importe comment. On ne peut pas donner des données qui engagent le Sénégal. On ne peut pas donner des données erronées. Donc, c'est un peu ça les challenges. Et par rapport aux leçons apprises, je pense que déjà, c'est l'importance d'impliquer les acteurs directement concernés par la question des POP dans le mécanisme de coordination. Ça, on s'est rendu compte de cela lorsqu'on faisait l'inventaire du PCB, où la Sénélec était un peu réticent parce qu'il n'était pas impliqué dans le mécanisme de coordination. Mais quand on l'a impliqué dans le mécanisme de coordination, on s'est rendu compte qu'après la transmission des données et l'introduction des consultants a été très facile. L'importance aussi de désigner des points focaux PNM au niveau des ministères, ça c'est extrêmement important parce que ce sont ces personnes-là qui constituent la porte d'entrée au niveau de ces services. Si on a besoin d'une donnée au niveau du commerce, par exemple, ou bien du transport, on saisit directement le point focal PNM de ces ministères-là et qui va assurer un peu de rechercher ces données-là avec ses collègues pour à peu près faire la transmission. Ou bien si on a besoin d'introduire les experts au niveau de ce ministère-là, c'est ce point focal qui va assurer toute cette coordination-là au niveau de son ministère pour faciliter la transmission des données. Le respect des données, des délais aussi pour le reportage, ça c'est extrêmement important. Et l'importance d'une réglementation allégée en matière de passation des marchés. Ça aussi, c'est un conseil qu'on peut donner parce qu'au Sénégal, quand même, le processus de passation des marchés est un peu compliqué parce que si on a un marché qui dépasse un peu les 5 millions qui correspond à peu près à 7 000 $ US, le processus devient beaucoup plus compliqué. Donc, dans le processus de recrutement des consultants, ça prend du temps. Pour organiser des ateliers avec un certain budget aussi, ça prend un peu un processus qui est un peu compliqué avec des passations des marchés. Des fois, c'est un peu compliqué et ça prend du temps. Donc, je pense que j'ai fini, je suis arrivé au terme de ma présentation. Je remercie encore le GGKP pour l'opportunité qui nous a été offerte de présenter notre expérience en matière de coordination. Merci. Je vous rends la parole. Merci.
Thank you so much, Mamadou, for sharing this amazing experience from Senegal. And as you spoke through the slides, I see so many similarities, and it speaks to what our other speakers also mentioned. The national coordination mechanisms, they're really instrumental. They have the power, as you mentioned, Mamadou, to collect the data, also to reach out to those stakeholders, which are sometimes very hard to reach during, as you mentioned, the inventory process while collecting the data. And other members of the national coordination mechanisms, if it's well structured, if it's well mandated, they can be super supportive to enable and provide the access to this data and the stakeholders and engage them in the whole process of the NEP. With that, I think we had a slight delay, and I really appreciate everyone who stayed, including all of our speakers from the countries today. It was an amazing opportunity for GGKP, first of all, to have all of you and hear from the country's experiences with this practical insights, both on the challenges, but also the recommendations. Maybe sometimes really practical. I mean, like scheduling in advance, sharing the agenda with the members in advance, and all these amazing insights that you've shared throughout this event. I think very much to learn for all of us from your experiences. Maybe if any of the speakers would have any final remarks or wishes, please feel free to turn on your microphone and speak. Okay, Emilia, Fatma, Ivan, Mamadou. Okay, I think everyone is is very probably in a hurry with the event being delayed for additional 20 minutes. But thank you very much, everyone, for sharing your amazing experience. And we wish you all the best in running your national coordination mechanisms, but also advancing all the objectives of the Stockholm Convention and other conventions. And wish you all the best. We'll share the recordings of this event with all the participants after the session. Thank you very much and wish you all the best and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Goodbye.
Thank you. Merci.
Merci. Bye bye.